The Kyrie trade, Luka's frustrations, Jason Kidd's quotes, Nico Harrison's roster failures. How will you best remember this Dallas Mavericks season? I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. Talk about that next.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Mavericks, NBA champions. It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day, all throughout the offseason. Still here. Subscribe or follow for free wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. Best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let us know in the comment section what's one random thing you'll remember from this season. Just give me a random thing. I don't want like the main thing. Give me a random thing. If you want to support the show, text us and get text alerts from us. All three of those things. Go to our subtext. There's a link in the description below, or text the number 214-643-8637. Trying to build up a group there. And loving Isaac was doing some AMAs there today, answered some questions. Love the interaction we get from you guys there. Joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, contributor at Mavs.com, the text titan, the one more thinking. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Yeah, have fun with that. We was at the gym. I was like, hey, I need something to help me get through this thing. It's like shot a text to all of our subscribers on our subtext, and got asked a bunch of different things, some behind the scenes stuff, some off season stuff. Some things I would want the roster to look like, and it's a fun thing. We're gonna do a ton of stuff like that, so hop on our subtext.
Yeah, if you want to get like a guaranteed answer from us, if you DM us and you're like, oh, they haven't responded, like the subtext, guaranteed, we're definitely gonna answer all those. So subscribe, link in the description below. Today we're gonna do a look back, kind of an in memoriam of the season, and look back on the 10 things that each of us will remember the most about this season. And we're going to go, we ranked them, and we're going to go back and forth. So we didn't tell each other what they are beforehand, but we're going to go through, and let's start with, let's go number one.
I got to say this first. This would have been a perfect
3 seconds left to talk.
If you're listening to this and you remember the Mavs Academy Awards, can you drop a comment on YouTube or shoot us a tweet, because this would have been an all-time year for us to do the Mavs Academy Awards. Like,
we could still do them. We could still do them in the
speeches, and hey, we even did it in memoriam on that, and where we had the music playing and we would just list off things.
We could still do that. We should do a pod on that.
Oh, they're talking. They're discussing the podcast.
Okay. All right. Number one thing you'll remember the season by, Isaac Harris.
Oh, do you want me to go first?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I did tank in the last two games.
The number one thing.
I think because I think it's the cherry on top to the entire season being absolutely horrific. I think when I look back on this season a few years from now, I think it will be, oh man, that was the year, like, we tanked those last two games because it was so bad just to keep our pick. And it will be the mindset of that year sucked so bad that we had to tank the last two games to keep our draft pick. Not even I don't care about the investigation and all that crap, but just the fact that you had to tank shows how bad the whole season was. And it was so bad.
I had this a little bit lower on mine, but there are several different ways that I put this.
Ways, yeah.
But yeah, missing the playoffs was my number two. So like missing the playoffs, and then losing to the Hornets twice, that was number 3 for me. Like just both of those, because like it's
the Hornets games on there.
Though I will remember those two games, because just like you said, the tanking the last two games, to me it was when we realized that the season was like completely dead and that this team was dead in the water, was losing to those Hornets games. So Dennis Smith Jr. ruined the Mavericks season basically, or put it to an end. He really did like end the Mavs season. Not like he ended Spencer Dinwiddie like Kyle Kuzma did today, but he did end the Mavericks in a way. But I had that lower than the number one, but missing the playoffs is going to be something we're going to look back on, because that's the only thing that people are going to see, is that that was the year Luka missed the playoffs, that he made it 2 years, played tough against the Clippers, made the Western Conference Finals, and then missed the playoffs. Like the same way you look back on Dirk and you're like, oh, remember 2007 when he, the loss in the first round and got the MVP, that it's going to look back. You're going to look back on it like that, right? It's like a footnote, and nobody's going to remember the whole thing that led up to that season and everything else, but they're going to remember that he missed the playoffs in that season, right? And so, that is one of the most memorable things.
It has to be. Considering all the expectations, it has to be.
My number one thing, though, is the Kyrie trade. I think that was such a big moment. It was such a big thing that happened. Such a, almost like, when in the moment I called it like a desperation trade, and it was. Like the Mavericks were desperate. They needed to add some talent, and there was only a couple teams that were interested in Kyrie, the Lakers and the Suns being two of them, and those teams were desperate too for various reasons. And so you look at the Mavericks with the most desperate of the bunch and went after him and then brought him in. And then an addendum to adding Kyrie is like being able to watch Kyrie play. Like watching Kyrie play was like a joy. It was great to be able to watch him finish and hit shots the way that he did and all that. But like bringing him in, how bad they were after that trade, like it just was. That part we're going to remember a lot later, especially if they bounce back next year and are better. We're going to be like, how the hell were they so bad last season and they're so good this year, right? Like that, we're going to remember it a lot. Or if they're bad again next year, like we'll remember this trade has never worked. So
now I'll be curious to what fans, because I have the Kyrie trade second.
Yeah.
How will Mavs fans, when you look back at this year, the 2022-2023 season, will you look back at the seaon as the season sucked or, oh, that's the season we got Kyrie?
I sucked for sure. They'll definitely look back on it like it
I know,
sucked.
but it has because I mean, to all the points that you just made, like Kyrie is such a polarizing player.
Yeah.
And just he's one of the most popular players in the NBA, and they traded for him. And it's like they got the second star. Luka, especially if he stays, like he stays in Dallas, it's like, oh, that's when they traded for him that first year. So it has to be, I think it has to be one or two on the list when you trade for a guy of that caliber. For me, I have it second behind like the tanking horrible season.
Second half of the season jersey sales, Luka number 5, Kyrie number 10 in all of the NBA.
Yeah, two all-star starters. We talked about that. It sounds like, how many times you're gonna have that? How many times in history have teams had that? Hasn't been, there's been different times, but not a ton.
I'll add on to the Kyrie trade. I put this as like in quotes afterwards. Kyrie trade, but also losing Dorian. Like that to me will go down.
Aww.
And if this I made this list more like my personal rankings than I did what in general Mavs fans or people will remember about this season. So this is for me. I'll remember losing Dorian because that was a gut punch. I did not want to lose that guy. I loved having that guy on the team. Thought that he was like a glue guy in so many different ways. And we've talked about him a lot. Brilliant player, but they were bad defensively with him, as Nico Harrison said yesterday. But still, like I thought that he had grown into a leader on the team and all that kind of stuff. And so I'll miss having him around and being able to watch him play, interact with other players, and seeing him at Media Day probably and around. So that definitely is added on to the Kyrie trade, losing him and all that.
Well, this sucks.
I mean, we're talking about a season that sucked, so a lot of these things are going to be bad.
I will say this, with the Dorian thing, we miss Dorian so much. Got multiple questions about Dorian on our subtext AMA today, and somebody asked like, "Hey, if we had Dorian, like, would we be in the playoffs right now?" And it's like, I mean, sure. Like if we had Dorian still, with the Kyrie, if for some reason Dorian didn't have to be in the trade, would they be in the playoffs? I mean, yeah, sure. I still don't think they're like going very far. So, like Nico said, it's not like we were incredible top 5 defense. We made the trade and then we just went straight to the bottom. Like it wasn't that scenario.
It's wild to think about that hypothetical and think about how much one role player can change things. Like we're going to talk about this Lakers team this summer too, how like they did the opposite of what the Mavericks did basically, where they were bad all season and then made one move, grabbed 3 guys that basically took them to, competent again and good again. And I think the Mavericks can do the same thing in the offseason. So we'll compare that and figure out how the Mavericks can do their own version of that. But yeah, the Mavs lose two rotation players, add one. Lakers lose one rotation player, add three, and then all of a sudden they're back to where they were. Coming up, what will we remember about Luka Doncic this season? There's one thing that's really going to stand out to me, and I hope that it's not something that we look back on a lot. We'll talk about that next. But before we do, let me tell you about eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. When it comes to your vehicle, every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will absolutely fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Motors. All right, Isaac Harris, thanks everybody for hanging out with us and being part of the show. If you listen 5 days a week, you're part of the Raccoon Squad. And subscribe to our subtext where you can text us. You'll get text alerts from us. Get a free trial to start with for sure. So if you want to just try it out, text us, let us know. Subscribe, link below. All right. So I've done my number 1, Kyrie trade. Number 2, missing the playoffs. Number 3, losing to the Hornets twice. What was your number 3?
All right, I don't have the Hornets on my list, but I went with kid quotes.
Ooh.
I just think that we had so many of them this year from a head coach that, you start looking around other, you get this benefit because, you manage all the other shows that talk about their team every single day and all of that. And, they obviously cover their teams. A lot of them go to the games and, media and all this stuff. And, do we get as many like quotes from most of the other head coaches around the league?
I'll do you one better. I don't know if you combined all the shows on Locked On NBA. So, and like you said, I'm the NBA channel manager, so I manage like a lot of the shows and stuff. Listen to a ton of our shows. I don't know that if you combined all the other shows, like all 33 other shows on the NBA channel, and added like all the ones that were did episodes just based on a coach quote, it would equal the amount of episodes we did based on one coach quote, right? Like I just don't think anybody else did.
It became a thing to where like we have a group, chat with all the other hosts to where like a new kid quote would drop and it's like, here we go. Here comes the group DM chat.
Oh,
and here comes all the jokes from all the other hosts. And it's like, but so that's like a telling thing. I'm like, how many times when I look back at the season, year 2, Jason Kidd, and the quotes throughout the year that became, a talking point for fans, for media, for talk shows, whatever. It's like, so it has to be high up the list for me. And I think it's at 3 for me, but I have a close number 4.
I'm not playing. I'm watching, just like you guys.
I had this at number 6 for me. There's two that I have before this, but yeah, the I'm not playing, I'm watching is me personally is something I will probably always remember because I asked that question. He said it to me. And then I
don't always tell you guys the truth.
That one is an all-timer that I'll just keep on the soundboard forever. And then this.
No one's dying.
That one.
That was incredible.
To a Tim Cowlishaw question about, when will there be pressure or concern about the state of the season? This was when the Mavericks were still in the play-in at that point. And then he said, we'll be concerned when when we don't make the playoffs. And they didn't. And they didn't even make the play-in. So, that one. The
Twitter isn't the coach or the player.
That one is a one you always remember probably.
We take the analytics and look at everything you guys write to figure out if we can please you guys.
Remember that one was about a tweet. That was a tweet that I wrote about big man lineups and like how Christian Wood and other guys had played so far with Luka and Kyrie. Like that. There's just been so many, and there's way more than there was last year too. Like want to compare Jason Kidd this year and last year. Like, we didn't have as many good quotes like that last year.
We had some at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, well, there was the
I have to apologize that you felt that he should have played more.
that was from last season about Reggie Bullock. You had the
This is a positive world.
that one.
Positive world and him being a +2. The touch the car analogy was weird.
So
the touch the
so I want to be able to touch the car.
I'm not a doctor, so I don't know.
That's an underrated one, but yeah, Kid quotes is definitely something we'll remember about this season. I have two though ahead of Kid quotes.
Okay, I'm ready.
And they're both about Luka, and I hope that this is not something that we'll look back on years from now and be like, "This was the start of it.
That was the beginning of the end."
This was the first time we really truly saw Luka frustrated at the Mavericks and heard rumblings and heard things in the lifespan of a star player in the NBA. It comes to this always, like with LeBron, KD, everybody. Like, you have this moment where you first start hearing rumblings of a player being frustrated. They may say all the right things in the media and all that kind of stuff, and Luka has, and I believe Luka is still staying with the Mavericks. But this is where we saw some frustration. There was a story back in February about him putting pressure on the front office to make a move at the trade deadline. And they end up doing that. They end up getting Kyrie.
A big move, yeah.
Yeah, he wanted them to make a big move. Remember that story. But then there's also this recent, just saw him being frustrated. And yeah, sure, some of it is going to be about his personal life and the stuff that went on in his life. But I think this is the first time we really saw Luka frustrated about his situation in general with the Mavericks.
Yeah, I have this right on my list, right underneath the Kid quotes at number 4 for me is Luka's frustration / complaining.
Ooh, yeah.
And just the frustration. I feel like it all came to a head this year of him complaining on the basketball court. Everybody was talking about it more, and obviously when you're losing games, all this stuff becomes more apparent. But yeah, the frustration, like you said, the story, coming out, pressure in the front office, the him just talking about not having as much fun and all of that. And yeah, and this isn't like I'm not trying to like talk about it in like a negative way. When I think the complaining is a negative way, but like this is, another year that for Luka, he's looking at it saying, "Hey, I'm an MVP candidate. I'm very frustrated right now with where we're at as a team and the roster."
So that one was one of the Luka ones for me. The other one is the Luka 60 game, like the Luka triple double 60 game against the Knicks with the putback layup, the intentional missed free throw and the putback and all that kind of stuff. Him doing that, pop the next game. They're playing the Spurs the next game. Him going, "We're gonna hold Luka under 50," like that being a thing. Like that whole day, that whole game, and everything that's just an incredible moment. And so, in a positive Luka one, that's something I'll look back on. Is that game was just incredible.
Is it bad that just because all the negative stuff just outweighs that I'm like, I thought of it, but I didn't like. It's one of like my honorable mentions.
Not even on your list.
It's not.
I had it on 5. I had it above Kid quotes because like that Luka 60 game was amazing.
Yeah.
And
I think I'm gonna think about a lot of other things about the season before I get to.
Well, I named 4 other things before that.
Yeah, I think like 3 years from now, or like even like a year and a half from now, I'm gonna be like, oh, that was that season. Like I remember that moment, but man, that year sucked so much. But that was that year.
This is also again my personal list, and I was sitting right there, like I was sitting under the basket where he puts back the shot.
Yeah,
like, that was just an incredible.
Yeah, we were opposite ends of the court.
Yeah, incredible moment to be there. So that's one I'll always remember too. Coming up, couple of roster things, I got a couple positive ones coming. So if you're sitting around going, man, I just don't want to hear so much about this negative stuff, I got some positive ones coming. Things that we'll always remember the Mavericks season by. We'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel is the number 1 sportsbook in America and also the number 1 sportsbook in our hearts because they are the sponsor of Locked On. That's right. Now new customers can get set up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn to sign up, place your first bet, and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win. See what's available now that we have the schedules for all these games. They have a bunch of different odds and lines. Quick hits. What are these? Oh, you can bet like Raptors first basket or Thunder Pelicans first basket. So like right now, Raptors first basket, Bulls Raptors first basket, Pascal Siakam plus 400, Jakob Poeltl plus 500. So things like that. You can go check out stuff like that. It's not just games, not just series, but there's little things in there that you can check out. Again, go to fanduel.com/lockedon. All right, Isaac Harris, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. Raccoon Squad, being part of the show, all that, some subtext. Okay, we're counting down the 10 things you'll remember the Mavericks season by. We've gone through basically 1 through 5. Have you done all your? Yeah, 1 through 5. I've done my 6th one now with Jason Kidd. So give me your next one. What will you remember the season by?
My next one is Christian Wood's agent DMs. And I mean, I'm going to talk about it publicly because Brad Townsend put it in the story, but like, you just don't see that. I mean, I've never seen this to this degree. Agents talk to, people in the media, but it's typically like higher up media that they'll exchange DMs with, or, text or give them a call about something with their agent, with their player or something like that. But there was an agent this year legitimately writing fan accounts on Twitter.
Yes.
Other media thing, to where it became a thing to where we would go to games and we would all like laugh and talk about like, hey, what stat line did you get? And what did you get this? And did you get this one? Did you get this one? And it just became a thing. And it's just like, I will never forget that. And in our time doing this 7 years now, I'll never forget that. We've had different interactions with players and their people or front office people, and it's just never had any type of interaction like that with an agent. So, yeah.
Yes, I have this one at number 8. I have just the Christian Wood saga, and then also Dash, his agent, like on the same line, because I do think, like, as much as we joke about it and talk about him like talking to us, I think it made it worse for Christian Wood. If you're just like rounding it all up, if you're taking
because I mean, I don't want to go ahead and start airing out DMs and all this stuff because some of the interactions were pretty great, but it was some of the stuff that's actually being like sent from him is just like, okay, well, it's pretty far out there, but
I don't think that it helped Christian Wood's case this season at all.
It helped, no.
And then the Christian Wood saga of it all, that like just him coming in, him not being named a starter like early on at Summer League. Remember that when it was like announced that JaVale McGee was going to start? The difference between some fans like not wanting him to play more and a ton of fans wanting him to play more and still think that he should have played more and all that kind of stuff.
The fan dynamic with Christian Wood was unbelievable. I'd never seen anything like that over the past 7 years.
There's an account. It's like Clutch Fans or something. It's one of the Rockets accounts. And he literally went through and found there's a whole thread. Jackson Gatlin of Locked On Rockets sent it to me. And a whole thread of like people that we know, like some of our friends and people. I don't think we made it, but of like tweets when they got Christian Wood and tweets at the end of the season, like positive and negative, like looking at the difference between when they first got Christian Wood and then when they eventually like got so frustrated. And then some of it is just the Mavericks were bad, and so people were frustrated at the end. But yeah,
or like when he gets his new contract this summer, like some people will legitimately tweet out or like talk about and say, dude, the Mavs made him not get more money.
Yeah, they will. And like, just that whole saga of it, like I'm going to remember that going forward.
Yeah, I will too.
Number 7 for me was the loss of Jalen Brunson.
I have missing JB on my list too.
Yeah, I'm going to look back and remember that Brunson was gone, especially since he's been so good at the Knicks. They're in the playoffs. The Mavericks aren't. Like just that stark difference of success at the end of the season. I don't attribute it all to Jalen Brunson, but it definitely was not a good set. And probably that's the first mistake Nico Harrison made, right? Definitely the biggest. I mean, definitely the biggest, but maybe the first like real mistake, because before that time he had like signed Reggie Bullock. He made the Porzingis trade. He traded like Josh Richardson for Moses Brown, which is like a wash trade that doesn't really look like it's a mistake. Like we hadn't seen a lot of like mistakes from him, but this one is just huge.
I mean, there's a Tim contract, but I mean, it's not like JaVale signing, that's coming up. But
well, that was after the loss. That's after the loss of Brunson.
Yeah. I put missing JB on that, and I mean, Cuban's quotes had a lot to do with it too.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
a never-ending story. It just never left the Mavs this year. It was Peter Pan's shadow all season long for Dallas. It was this rain cloud that it's it's horrible. I mean, and it's the Steve Nash thing that Mavs fans will forever talk about,
Right.
and losing him. I don't think it's going to be to that degree. No, I'll eat my words probably, but Nash had 2 MVPs after that, after he left, whatever. But it's tough when a player leaves like that. He's beloved by everybody. Luka had that smile a few weeks ago. It's just like, yeah, we miss him. He's good player, good guy. And so yeah, it's definitely gonna be a part of the season I'll never forget.
Number 9 for me.
Uh-oh.
Hardy, let's go party.
Is Jaden Hardy. I'm going to remember this season because I hope that this is much like the opposite of the Luka frustrated thing. I hope we look back on this and be like, this is where we knew like Jaden Hardy was going to be good from the beginning. Like, remember his rookie season where if you played him 15 minutes, he would score 15 points. It was like guaranteed. Like, you just knew. Yeah. And so I hope we look back on that and remember it as his like emerging. And, this is a very good development year for him. And like, oh, he succeeded and scored on every level. We should be super excited about this guy and are. So I hope to look back on the Hardy party and hope to keep him around for a long time and keep seeing like his growth continue to go upward.
Yeah, I put him and Green kind of together. I just put Hardy and Green, and just we had that long stretch there of Josh Green playing really good basketball that I was on the spot saying I'll eat my crow on this. Like I thought kind of figured him out, after his first few years, and it's like I'm kind of out a little bit, and he proved me wrong and like him as a player. And then this second half of the season for Jaden Hardy too, and so I kind of put those two guys together.
The thing I'll also remember about Hardy this rookie season, and I hope I keep remembering this, is how fearless he was. Like, I asked him about this in the last game, his exit interview. Like, how does he play with such fearlessness? Like, he got blocked at the rim so many times this year, and he did not care. He was just going to keep going for it. He took step backs, like with Luka and Kyrie on the floor, like with him, 2 all-star starters on the floor, and he's taking step back threes and making them, right? Like, and he shot really well from 3 this season. So just that confidence, that fearlessness, he got playing time towards the end of the season over some guys because he was not scared of the moment. Like, he was not scared of playing with Luka and Kyrie. And he was like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And I'm going to go out there and, do my thing and score and all that. And like, I hope that that's something that continues to be true about him and that he, keeps building on.
Yeah. I have signing JaVale McGee on
McGee.
Near the bottom of my list. I just think, you go out, it's not at the top. It's not something I'm going to look back on and oh yeah, JaVale is the number one thing this season, but they went out to address a need. They said they had a need for, a big man down low. They went out and signed him, and it just completely didn't work at all. I mean, the dude was getting DNP CDs a lot this year. He just immediately looked older, and I don't expect him to be on the roster next year at all. So
the thing about the JaVale McGee thing is just how quick it went from he's starting at Summer League. Like at Summer League, they're like announced that he was starting, basically. Goes into training camp. In the preseason, we were like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. Like it's so, and then what was it? 8 games. It's 8 games into the season. He lost his starting spot, or like a couple games in the season, he lost his starting spot. And then 8 games in the season, he just stopped playing. Like it was DNP CD, like you said. Just how quick it went. And like I respected Jason Kidd for that, because he just realized it wasn't working so quickly that he went away from it and didn't like dig his heels into something that he announced just because he announced it. And I think Luka had a part to do with that too, because you could see Luka was frustrated with playing with him early in the season as well.
Yeah. Do you have any more? Because I have 2 more.
Go ahead. I have 1 more left, but go ahead and McGee was my first one on the cutting room floor.
Okay. Yeah, I have 2 more left in my top 10. Dirk statue.
Oh, that's a great one.
I mean, not that we'll look back in the season and be like, I should tweet this out, dang it. I need to tweet this out. Be like, I'll remember this season by Dirk statue. And because it'll just yeah. But no, I mean, it's a huge deal. I mean, not many players in the history of the game have statues, and obviously his first one, here in Dallas for the Mavs and all of that, and the legend of Dirk getting a statue there on Nowitzki Way. Yeah, just Fair in Victory Park. It's awesome. If you haven't seen it in person, you got to see it. So I mean, I'm gonna be biased on this. I think it's the best NBA statue there is out there. Probably Jumpman's right behind it in Chicago. But
you think it's better than Jordan's statue? That's surprising.
I honestly do. I think it was perfection. I think this is one of the, for as much as the Mavs get criticism for a bunch of other things, I think the Dirk statue was absolutely perfect, flawless.
He's leaning back a little far. Is my only is my only critique of it. But I walked by it the last game and I was like, man, he's like, it seems like he's falling down instead of leaning back. That's my only critique on it. But if that's the only one, then that's a great one. I definitely would have included it, but I did not remember because of all the other things that I'm
exactly.
Give me one more and then I got one.
All right, my last one. Don't laugh. The Retroplex jerseys and marketing and all that stuff.
No, come on.
Dude, this was my favorite City jersey they've had yet. I absolutely loved it. I'm wearing a hat.
You're wearing the hat right now, yeah.
I think what Andre and the crew did with the Retroplex like video of the old school recreating reunion was perfection. I thought just all the marketing around it and how they used it, the word mark I just think it was perfect. Dude, we're talking about a team that had graffiti jerseys years ago. That was the worst things I've ever seen on a basketball court. And here you go. Like to this was incredible. So
yeah, Isaac, can we talk right now? I'll pause the podcast. You're not doing any good with trying to get us separated from Mav State media here. Like you're not helping us.
Number 10?
Not helping us separate from.
You don't like it? I think it's awesome.
I definitely wouldn't put it in my top 10.
If one of my hold on. If one of my only positive things over the past 30 minutes of this podcast, my only positive thing is the jerseys, I think that's more proof that we're not Mass State media than anything, is the fact that I can't find hardly any other thing that's positive about this entire season besides their City jerseys.
That's amazing.
Touche.
What are you about to say?
My
Condensation on the court?
Yeah, the rain delay. I may remember the rain delay, that we had an inside the arena rain delay the AAC this year. My number 10, and this is a personal list for me, is the amount of you that came up to me at games this season.
Oh,
it was honestly like shocking to me how many people
come up to the press box, cowards. No, just kidding.
And I pointed every time I pointed to you, where you are. I'm like, Isaac is all the way up there. You can see him with his hat. The amount of people that came up to me at games this season was staggering. And it would be new people. Like, it wasn't just the same people coming up to me. A couple people came up to me multiple times. Shout out to you guys. But the ones that, like, just new people every game, it was like 3 or 4. Rafael Barlow would make fun of me because of how many people would come up to me at games, like, every time. The Phoenix Suns game, one of the last games of the season, I swear like 40 people came up to me during that game at different times. And I started giving out stickers. I was like, I got to give people something because they keep coming to see me. But yeah, that just meant a lot to me. And says a lot about, how this show has grown. The community, the Raccoon Squad has grown so much this year, grew last year because of the run and all that. And it just meant a lot to me. And I really appreciate each and every one of you because this is 5-day-a-week show and we put all the work into it that we do because of that. And so we really appreciate it. And subscribe to our subtext.
If you want to talk to us.
Yeah, if you want to
sub to our subtext and make sure you leave.
We won't be Mavs State Media, but we will be shills. We will sell out.
We have reached the point in our media careers that we don't do anything for free. So
that's true. I'm proud of that. Let us know in the comment section. What's one random thing you'll remember about this season? And you can ask Isaac what the liquid was falling from the ceiling.
Hey, how about this? I'll give me another thing to leave if you're still listening to this. Leave a comment below of your favorite Locked On Mavs moment from this season.
Ooh, that's good.
If you have one. Yeah.
Let us know in the comment section below. Go listen to Locked On NBA. It's me and Pat, the designer, today, breaking down the play-in games. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.